everyone, today's video is on Michel Foucault, 1926 to 1984. Paul Michel Foucault, he was born in 1926 in Poitiers, that is in Western France. He studied philosophy, but he also obtained qualifications in psychology. And Jacques Derrida, he was a student of Foucault, but later we will see that Derrida he became a philosophical antagonist of Foucault. And in the early 1970s, which was a time of political turmoil in Paris, Foucault threw himself in political activism, primarily in relation to the prison system, and therefore he is also the founder of the Prison Information Group. Moving forward, an interesting thing to note here is Foucault's father was an eminent surgeon, his mother was working towards building a medical career, and his paternal grandfather was a local doctor. And also, his maternal grandfather was a surgeon. So, considering that his familial background is being related to the field of medical sciences, there is no doubt that much of his works revolve around the critical interrogation of medical discourses. Now, let's look at some notable works of Michel Foucault. First, we have Madness and Civilization, The History of Insanity in the Age of Reason, 1961. This work, it explores the historical and social construction of madness and its relationship to power and knowledge. The second is The Birth of the Clinic and Archaeology of Medical Perception, 1969. In brief, we can say that this work, it examines the transformation of medical knowledge and practices in Western societies through the lens of the clinic. Third, we have The Order of Things and Archaeology of the Human Sciences, 1966. This work basically analyzes the historical conditions that shape the way knowledge is classified and structured in different periods. Fourth, we have The Archaeology of Knowledge, 1969. It explores the nature of knowledge production and the underlying systems of rules and discourses that govern it. Fifth, we have Discipline and Punish, The Birth of the Prison, 1975. This work is very important. It investigates the development of modern systems of punishment and the ways in which power operates in institutions. And sixth, we have The Will to Knowledge, History of Sexuality, 1976. It is important because it explores the historical construction of sexuality and its intersection with power, knowledge, and social institutions. Now, looking into some very basic explanation of some important concepts given by Michel Foucault, let's first look into biopower. So the term biopower first appeared in his important work called The History of Sexuality, and biopower refers to biological power. An example of biological power would be when institutions like asylums, factories, schools, hospitals, universities, etc. start imposing their power on people to control their behavior and body, and sometimes even life altogether. It is called biological power. And biological power is exerted on the masses and not on the individuals. Under biopower, we have anatomopolitics and biopolitics. Anatomopolitics, it emerged roughly during the 17th century when there was this rise in industrial societies. And biopolitics, it emerged roughly during the 18th century when there was this excessive rise of population. So anatomopolitics, it focused on the human body as a machine. It sought for ways to make it more disciplined, to also make it more useful and docile. For example, we can look at how schools, armies, prisons, hospitals, factories, etc. focus on the human body as a machine. And now, looking at biopolitics, since it was during the rise of the population, it involved techniques to intervene and control population. It included the managing of reproduction, birth, death, behavior, health, and sanitation of the population. In literary theory, therefore, Foucault's concept of biopower can be applied to analyze and understand the relationship between power, discourse, and literature. We have What is an Author? So, what is an author? It was a lecture on literary theory given at Collège de France by Foucault on 22nd February 1969. And the opening line is very interesting. The opening line of this lecture was, "What matters? Who's speaking?" And this opening line, it is a quote from Samuel Beckett. This opening line itself summarizes the whole point of this lecture. Many are of the view, and many are still of the view, that the lecture was a response to Roland Barthes' The Death of the Author. And here, in this lecture, when Foucault deconstructed the author's role, it revolutionized the literary theory to a great extent. He emphasized on the role of the reader and the social and historical context in shaping meaning, and this makes the author become, not the source or the originator of the meaning. This makes the text open to multiple meanings and interpretations. So we'll see that understanding the text should involve analyzing the complex network of relationships between authors, readers, institutions, and discourses, and not just the author's intent. According to Foucault, the term author again does not refer purely and simply to a real individual. This topic is Panopticon. So Panopticon, it was originally a concept by Jeremy Bentham. It was a circular prison design wherein a central observer had the ability to watch and monitor a large number of subjects who are unaware of whether they are being watched at any given moment. This idea of Panopticon in his work, Discipline and Punish, The Birth of the Prison. He talks about it from a metaphorical perspective wherein the panopticon symbolizes power dynamics, surveillance, and discipline. So the panopticon as presented by Foucault provides a theoretical framework that prompts literary theories to critically examine power dynamics, surveillance, discipline, and punish within literary texts. It also encourages the analysis of the relationship between readers, writers, characters, and the broader social context in which literature is created and consumed. Some other concepts or terms discussed by Foucault are episteme, genealogy, and discourses. So let's first look at episteme. So epistemology has to do with knowledge. And here in episteme, Foucault talks about episteme as the underlying knowledge systems and rules that shape and govern the way we understand and interpret the world. It encompasses the historical, cultural, and scientific frameworks that influence our perceptions of truth. Next, we have genealogy. So here it involves the investigation of the historical development of power relations and knowledge systems. It also analyzes how dominant ideas and practices shape our understanding of truth and control. Next, we have genealogy. So here it involves the investigation of the historical development of power relations and knowledge systems. It also analyzes how dominant ideas and practices shape our understanding of truth and control. Discourses. It highlights the ways in which literature participates in the construction of knowledge, identities, and social hierarchies. It also looks at how certain ways of thinking, writing, and talking become dominant and shape our understanding of the world. We've seen how Michel Foucault talks so much about power and knowledge. His discussions of the relationship between power and knowledge has influenced, post-colonial critiques in explaining the discursive formation of colonialism, particularly in Edward Said's very important work called Orientalism. Michel Foucault's work, The History of Sexuality, has also been very influential in feminist philosophy and queer theory, especially in the work of the major feminist scholar Judith Butler, due to the theories that he provided regarding the genealogy of maleness and femaleness, of power, sexuality, and bodies. Now, many scholars are of the view that Michel Foucault did not fall into any particular movement or category. They are of the view that he deliberately stood outside of the canon of, the literary theory and philosophy. But if we consider all the works that he produced and the topics and discussions that he put forth, it would be apt for us to say that he very much belonged to post-structuralism and new historicism. Why new historicism? New historicism because his approach to history questioned old historicism by talking about the gaps in history, etc. And all this, all the works that he contributed, it added much to new historicism too. So that is a little bit about Michel Foucault, and I hope you liked the video. If you do, please like, share, and subscribe. Thank you.